So Sekou Kone made his debut for the under-21s against Huddersfield under-21s yesterday, and to be honest I think he already looks like a Manchester United player. He played 42 minutes, got injured and left the game on crutches, so he's already fitting in perfectly with the current United squad. But I have to say the guy looks like he has crazy potential, as I think it's already evident that once he returns from injury and plays another maybe 2 or 3 months in the under-21s, he may actually be ready for some minutes in the first team. So let's analyse him in this game. So here we see as Huddersfield work the ball out wide, the central midfielder drops off to receive the pass in field, with Sekou Kone a few yards behind. Now what you'd expect from most central midfielders is that as soon as a Huddersfield central midfielder receives the ball, they immediately push up onto their back in order to stop them from turning and forcing them backwards. But Kone goes a step further. He is immediately on the player's back, but not just that, he sees that the player has left his left side open, and without hesitation Kone launches himself in front, puts in what I can only describe as a backwards tackle kind of, wrapping his right leg around the player's left leg, wins the ball cleanly, and now United have regained possession in front of the Huddersfield midfield line, and they can drive forward into the space, which wouldn't have been possible without the aggressive front foot pressing that Sekou Kone produced. Very reminiscent of what we see Agate do in the first team. Now in this next clip we see an equally impressive piece of play from Kone, this time in possession. The ball ricochets up in the air, and as Kone is about to get the loose ball under control, you can see that he's facing his own goal, immediately under pressure from one of the Huddersfield forward line, with a player from the midfield line also pushing up behind him. He doesn't get the ball under control immediately, but as the ball bounces he recognises where the pressure is coming from, and manoeuvres his body between the player and the ball, turning in the process. And now you can see that he's being sandwiched from both sides, but after the first time turn he immediately accelerates past the oncoming pressing player with an excellent piece of ball manipulation, shifting the ball onto the side where the space is, leaving the oncoming pressing player off balance before driving forward into that space. And then from here he powerfully glides past a third Huddersfield presser, and in a matter of 3 or 4 touches he has taken 3 Huddersfield players out of the game, and can now drive into the space vacated before playing a forward pass at the exact right moment, taking United from a situation where he was facing his own goal under pressure from both sides to progressing the ball into the Huddersfield half in behind their midfield line. Here once again we see how developed Kone's reading of the game is, as a Huddersfield left back is looking to play a forward pass from the touchline into the centre forward's feet. But look how quick Kone is across the ground. Initially his starting position isn't cutting off the passing lane, but he reads where the pass is going and is quick across the ground and makes the interception with a slide to allow United to regain possession and break up the attack. In this example we see that the pass is going into Kone midway inside his own half, and once again we see how press resistant he is, using his awareness to calculate exactly where the presser is behind him and where the space is for him to turn into. He feels the player's presence on his left shoulder, and so without even touching the ball he just drops the shoulder, rolls the player before driving into that space. But even from here his job isn't done, as he really doesn't have any safe passing options on, whilst also being under pressure from behind and having 2 Huddersfield players in front in close proximity, closing off the space for him to continue his carry into. But he has the composure and the vision to fend off the pressure, get his head up before splitting the 2 Huddersfield midfielders with another exquisite line breaking pass into Jace Fitzgerald, once again in behind the Huddersfield midfield, from where Fitzgerald can now turn and drive forward into that space. But before I go any further, if you want to check out any of the new season jerseys, go over to Jersey FIFA. They've also got club and international retro jerseys as well. You can use code Atlantis for a discount. A link will be in my Instagram bio, which will be linked in the description. Well, I have to admit, before his debut I was a little cautious, as he'd only played in the Mali League and for the Mali under-21s, and had not even played a single minute in Europe. But after watching him in this first half against Huddersfield for the under-21s, I think 2 things are clear. He is already showing that he has as complete a skill set as you could possibly want from a young central midfielder. Press resistant with fantastic awareness of where pressing players are coming from, where the space is and how to manipulate the ball and his body positioning to take advantage and bypass the press, whilst also having the composure in possession beyond his age, knowing when to circulate the ball quickly, when to hold on to the ball in order to wait for the right pass, as well as the vision and technique to thread those line breaking passes, which I think is one of the most underrated attributes when people are judging central midfielders of all ages, as this ultimately is the key to working the ball in behind the opposition's midfield and committing their defensive line. He also has the ball carrying ability to take advantage of space in front of him, though I do think he will need to develop his explosiveness, his physicality and his change of pace, as it certainly won't be this passive in senior football. But also out of possession, he has a knack of being able to read the game a second or two or so before other central midfielders, as well as the athleticism to cover ground quickly, alongside the tenacious tackling ability that makes him exactly the type of ball winner that you want, either breaking up attacks in your own half or pushing up in the press, looking to pounce on opposition players with their back to goal as they are receiving the ball, and not only stopping them from turning, but having a high level of tackling technique that he showcased in this game, enabling him to wrap his legs around players in order to win the ball, when usually you'd say he'd have no right to win the ball in that position, setting United up perfectly for the counter-attack. So without doubt, I think Kone has truly elite level potential, as well as a very well-rounded skill set. However, the second thing that was obvious was that whilst he may not be ready just yet for the Manchester United first team, it already looks like he might be too good for youth football, and once he has maybe 5 or 6 games under his belt, you may be actually watching him thinking he actually needs a loan, because certainly from a physical and athletic point of view, I just don't think he's going to be challenged enough in the under 21s.